Yo, how's it going, everyone? This is Legend Cat speaking, and welcome to the next 5-minute review, more or less, of a game called Chasm. Just to give you a little explanation, explore the depths below a remote mountain town in this procedurally generated adventure platformer, taking inspiration from hack-and-slash dungeon crawlers and Metroidvania-style platformers. Chasm will immerse you in a fantasy world of full exciting treasure, deadly enemies, and abundant secrets. Release date 31st of July 2018. Developer and publisher by BitKid Inc. So for anyone that does not know, this game is a Metroidvania platformer. So you run around as a kid, you know, obviously jumping up and down, doing platforms, killing enemies, bosses, and mini-bosses, and just in general, a pixel-graphic, obviously, game. The game is amazing. Should you buy this game? I would definitely say you should. The game is worth $20 USD or 186 pesos if you are in Mexico. For me, the normal gameplay story took me about 7 hours to complete, which was 100%. 100% consists of searching and exploring every single piece of the map, finding all of the villagers that are lost in the world, complete every side quest that each villager has. So every villager has one side quest, and grab every single power-up. There you go. I think there's 8 power-ups total. The game's definitely great when it comes to the graphics. The pixel graphics is amazing. I enjoyed every single thing about it. Great, good boss variety. So none of the bosses feel repetitive or cheap, something like that. It'll definitely feel unfair while playing the game, but the more you play it, or the more you die, the faster you'll learn, and you'll see what the patterns are, and you'll do just fine. Even though it'll feel unfair-ish, I guess you can say, it really isn't, because once you learn how to play the game, I guess you can say, the game will definitely go by a whole lot quicker. For instance, I was definitely speedrunning the game, so again, 100% for me took about 7 hours. But when I did 100%, when it came to the game, 100% in the game is killing every single enemy in X amount of time. So for instance, the bestiary tells you need to kill enemy number 1 10 times in order to unlock their stats. Their stats will tell you how much XP they have, how much XP they'll drop, how much HP they have, and what items they drop. And every single monster drops 2 items, so they drop a common and a rare. And I actually ended up doing a 100% run, which is, again, find the entire map, do and find every single side quest / villager that is lost, as well as killing every single enemy and finding both of their items during the speedrun. And I managed to do all of that when the first playthrough was about 7 hours. I did it in about 5 hours and 20-ish minutes or so. So as you can tell, if you know what you're doing, you can actually beat the game rather quickly. And considering the fact that the drops that the enemies have aren't necessarily like super rare, but they are rare to the point where you have to farm enemies for a good, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes before they drop both of the items. Maybe longer, maybe shorter, depends on how the RNG works on your side. Not only that, but again, the game is procedurally generated, which means it's a roguelite type of situation where every single time you start a new run, the map will actually end up changing, and that actually consists of the enemies changing as well. When it comes to the maps changing, like the main areas where you have to go, like for instance, the boss number 1 and mini boss number 1 will always be in the exact same spot. Those rooms will never change no matter how many times you try. But in between getting to the mini boss and getting to the main boss, those rooms in between of those areas will actually change in some way, shape, or form. Even though you might not think it didn't change, it just might have been where that specific seed that you had chosen was the same or looked the same as other times. But the more you play it, the more you'll find out that that rooms actually do end up changing, sometimes a whole lot more than you were expecting. So for instance, again, I ended up doing 120 hours of just this game due to the fact that I ended up speedrunning it, which consisted of doing any percent, which is easy mode, doing any percent, but in normal mode, because the game has difficulties. It has easy, normal, hard, and nightmare, as well as mortal. So mortal can be done in any difficulty you want, and the higher the difficulty you go up, the more damaged enemies do, which I believe difficulty does not change their HP. So for instance, the mini bosses will always have the same HP, the bosses will always have the same HP. It'll just mean that the amount of damage that they deal is way higher. So instead of hurting you for 10, they'll actually end up hurting you for 20 on normal, 30 on hard, and 40 on nightmare. For instance, those numbers aren't obviously accurate, but again, it has multiple difficulties that you can choose from, which is fantastic. On top of that, great level design / power-ups. So all of the level design in general for every single area, plus the power-ups that you gain throughout the playthrough, is actually really good. The only downfall was the fact that you do get a ability that you don't really get to use all that much. You only use it in 2 different spots, and that's it. Again, without going into spoilery, without telling you what that is or where you would find the power-up or where or how to use it, you do just pick up one power-up that you don't use anywhere besides in 2 different spots. So that kind of sucks. But it doesn't really matter because the entire game is actually really freaking awesome. The one other downfall is the text / text boxes. So for instance, when someone is talking to you, or when text boxes appear, like the text in general looks really bad. I kind of wish they would just do like one big box either at the bottom of the screen or the very top of the screen and show the text way bigger. Because of the way they did it with speech bubbles, they actually ended up having to use custom text, which made the letters and everything really small, and I just personally did not like it. Not only that, but the item description needs a lot of help. So for instance, if you grab a mace, it'll just tell you, oh, it's a metal stick with spiky ball at the end. If you grab a whip, it'll say, oh, this is just a leather whip. If you grab a sword, it'll be like, this is a sword. And it doesn't really give you like the satisfaction of finding the item, I guess you can say. It's just sort of there. Like, if it's a dagger, it's a dagger. Or a dagger with poison, maybe, assuming that even is a thing, because I didn't obviously read the description for every single thing. But during my first playthrough, I was like, oh, this is cool. I found a fire sword. Let me read the description, and it's like, this is a fire sword. And it's like, I don't know about that. So it's just a regular long sword with fire properties attached to it, which isn't really much because the game doesn't have like magic properties, I guess you can say. It doesn't have like magic damage. It's just adds a little bit more attack than you would normally. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much the only downfall. Like the entire game in general is super good, but the text needs a lot of help. And before I forget, the music is super good. It actually gives you the ability to play the music either the way the developers made it, or you can listen to it during like chiptune status. So instead of being the way they want you to listen to it, it'll be in chiptune. So like, I guess you can say like back in the Nintendo era, you would have not so complicated music playing, I guess you can say. You would definitely have to listen to it in order to tell the difference. So assuming, like when I was first playing the game, I was like, what is chiptune? I have no idea. Can't say that I've played many games that have other music attached to it, I guess you can say. And when I put chiptune the first time, I'm like, I don't know what this does. I'm leaving it in original. And then 100 hours later, a viewer of mine said, oh, do you like chiptune? I'm like, sure. Like, it's not bad, but it's not like I go out of my way to listen to it. And they mentioned that the game had chiptune, which I had totally forgotten, ended up doing it, and I'm just like, oh wow, like the music definitely sounds a lot more different during chiptune mode, but the music is wonderful. And that being said, to me, the music sort of felt out of place. Like for instance, if you're in a mine and you hear the music, it doesn't feel like you're in a mine listening to background music. It just sort of feels like they put music there so you can listen to it, but not necessarily make it like, I guess you can say, make it feel like it comes from a mine. That's probably just a me thing, but yeah, like the music just felt, I don't know, just not quite there. The music is freaking awesome. It's definitely one of my, definitely really awesome to hear, but just in general, the music in general just didn't really feel like it was part of the areas. It just felt like it was there just so you could listen to something, which obviously makes sense, but I don't know, to me it just felt a little bit off. So yeah. So that being said, should you buy this game? I would say definitely yes. For it being worth $20, it might be a little bit expensive for people, but considering the fact that the game has already been out since 2018, you most likely will be able to catch this game go on discount sooner than later. Because if you're like me and you actually want to experience the entire thing when it comes to the game, again, doing 100% is going to take way more than 5 hours that it took me, but to see every single thing that the game has to offer when it comes to listening to the music and searching around the environment and whatnot, is really worth it, I would say. But then again, I could be easily biased over that because I am I speedran the game, so I had a reason to do these things. I wanted to search for them because, for instance, when it comes to speedrunning, again, to go back, you can do any percent, which is easy, any percent normal mode, which is the same thing as easy, but everything hurts a little bit more. You can do pacifist, which is you can't kill anything besides mini bosses and bosses, and if any of those two summon enemies during the fight, you can kill those as well, but any other enemy outside of those two specific points, which is a boss or a mini boss, you cannot kill at all, so you actually have to avoid every single thing. You can also do pacifist known seed, which means every single run that you do, it is during a random seed, something that you've never seen before. But known seed means you can play the game that you've already played before, and what allows you to do is, since you already know the codes and passcodes and all that whatnot when it comes to playing the game, in the pacifist known seed, it means that you no longer need to go to those areas that would let you learn what those passcodes are, so you can actually skip them out entirely. Which, believe it or not, even though that might not sound as cool, again, when it comes to speedrunning the game, it actually is a lot more fun than you would think it could be. So, believe it or not, it is actually a lot more fun than you would expect, because you can skip areas that otherwise you would need to find, like knocking out damn near 5 minutes plus of a normal run, as well as, again, the 100%, which is do every single thing the game has to offer. The one giant problem that the game currently has is during my 100% run, there is one enemy that has a chance of either not appearing or not unlocking under your bestiary tab for whatever reason. I'm sure they'll end up getting that fixed eventually, or maybe even currently, like an explanation as to why it does what it does. But during my 100% run, I actually didn't unlock one enemy because, one, the game did not spawn them at all, and two, the enemies just, again, it did not unlock automatically. So the game was telling me you need to kill an X amount of these enemies, but because the enemies didn't exist, I couldn't do anything. So that really only matters for someone such as me that is speedrunning the game, but in general it doesn't really matter. It's just something annoying and something that you won't even notice happened until you do something like what I did. But again, I got in about 120 hours of just Chasm versus a game that you would just end up playing and then stopping after you're done, which is, in my opinion, really good. When it comes to speedrunning, it's not like I would just choose to speedrun anything for any reason. It's more of a, let me try it out, see how it works out. If I don't like it, then it doesn't matter, but if I do, then there you go. And with this game, obviously it was well worth trying, so definitely worth picking up. Another game, as a quick note, that that Chasm could be compared to is a game called Time Spinners, which is, again, pretty much the same thing, pixel art Metroidvania platformer. Definitely suggest you check that game out if you bought Chasm for whatever reason. But yeah, I might have been talking for a lot longer than 5 minutes, but that's always why. It is a more or less 5-minute review. Again, definitely suggest you check out. Also, make sure to check out my previous 5-minute reviews. If you think this helped in any way, shape, or form, let me know how I could possibly improve. I know I need help when it comes to doing this, but as of right now, I just sort of talk and let you know what I thought about the game without spoiling anything. And I'll definitely try and improve as I go. But with that, I am going to head out. Everyone take care. Hope to see you next time. And peace out.